Thinking about building your own Class 3 item? Can you do it? Absolutely. How do you do it? Damn good question. This is Alan with Quarter Horse Arms in North Carolina, and in this episode, let's talk about making your own Class 3 item. All right, just to get it off the table, can you make a machine gun? I'm sure you could. It is not legal. Don't do it. Don't even think about it. I mean, it's cool, but, is it worth going to jail over? The ATF has this magic number of 10 years and $250,000 fine, neither of which I can afford, so trust me, I will stay within the law for that. On the other hand, I actually have the licensing that lets me do it. Okay, so most common things to build that are Class 3 items. Number one is a silencer. And you're going to go, hey, Alan, I haven't got a clue how to build a silencer. That's okay. If you Google it, you'll find all kinds of stuff on solvent traps and crap like that. Solvent trap, it was essentially a poor man's silencer. It was a crappy silencer. The whole premise to me of a solvent trap, if you're pouring that much liquid down a gun barrel, you need to rethink how you're cleaning your weapons. But just to give a quick aside on this, there is a company, it could be Hornady, it could be somebody else. I found it actually on Amazon where it really was kind of a gun patch and solvent trap kit, a thing strapped on over the barrel, and you screwed in a plastic soda bottle. And as you pushed the patches through, they would get caught there. Kind of a neat little system, so on that regard, that works. Okay, so let's talk about what you can do for silencers. There was a guy at one point, he's serving time in a federal prison, who was showing how to do things like make solvent trap silencers and then showing you how to drill the hole at the end. And I think that's what got him in trouble. And in fact, at the trial, they even used his own website against him. Okay, so you want a silencer? Well, there's two ways to go about this. One is you can buy what's called an oil filter adapter. Why you would need one is beyond me. However, I did buy two just out of curiosity. I got them from two different manufacturers that both came from the same address. Go figure. And the statement on one of them was that it made his 308 run very quietly. What you can do with these basically is there's a threading on it, and then you have to screw on an oil filter. And, an oil filter you might get 10 good shots out of. You don't have to worry about drilling a hole, you just shoot the hole at the end. Thing is that when you manufacture any Class 3 item, you're going to have to, I think, Form 1 it. And there's going to be a $200 fine. I shouldn't say fine. I guess it is a fine. $200 tax stamp. Now, with the oil filter silencers, and you're going to have to check this. You can do your own legal legwork. But my understanding was that once you shot the oil filter apart, think about most metal oil filters. It's just some sort of, papery stuff inside, and eventually you're going to blow through all that stuff. If you had to replace the oil filter, you had to pay another $200 to the ATF because you were, in effect, making another silencer. Is it worth it? Nah. As a manufacturer, it's kind of a cool thing. And conveniently, I haven't actually tested those yet, mostly because I wasn't that motivated, quite frankly. But now that I have a bunch of oil filters laying around for a car I no longer have, I may want to test those. Okay, so for a second, let's ignore solvent traps. Let's ignore oil filter silencers. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. You can go on YouTube or Google it. I'm sure there's stuff out there. In fact, I know there's stuff on YouTube showing how well it works, which is not very well. All right, now, if you want to do it the other way, and this is one of those things where the ATF really either hasn't caught wind of it yet, or they're watching it and then waiting to pounce. I don't know. I found this on Amazon, of all places. Surprise, surprise. And they actually call this thing 152.4 millimeter fuel filter used for motorcycles and trucks. Now, if you take a look at the picture, it's a metal tube with a threaded cap at one end that presumably you would thread onto, a threaded barrel. And there's a bunch of cones, which look remarkably like the cones you would find inside a typical silencer. And then there's a solid end cap. And, what's really kind of cool about this end cap is they've put a little dimple in the middle. So, I don't know, it could be for manufacturing, but it's really there to show you where to put the middle hole, so where the bullet's going to come out of the muzzle end. And that's $33.98. And if you used your Prime store card, you can get 5% back. There's another one that was like $80. I mean, they're all over there. And odds are it hasn't become an issue with the ATF because no one's actually asked the ATF about it. And I was just looking, there's no frequently asked questions. Sometimes they're funny. I can't tell from the picture if the cones are drilled or not. My guess is they would be if they're calling this a fuel filter. And if you look at the picture and you actually can call up and go, "Hey, Alan, that really is a good fuel filter," I'm going to hang up on you. And if you were in front of me, I would drop kick you down my driveway just for general stupidity. Okay, so there are all kinds of things like that out there. Is it legal to own the fuel filter? Yes, it is. Now, the part that I'm not sure about, and mostly it's because my memory is failing me at my advanced age. At one point on my cell phone, I received an ad for another fuel filter, or oil filter, excuse me. I misspoke. And the opening image was a bullet going down the tube. And, at the time, I actually had the ATF investigator going through my paperwork. And literally it had just come in. I said, "Is this thing legal?" Because, if it was, they were on there. They were selling them for $20 a piece. I figured, what? I'll buy a bunch of them. I'll serialize them and sell them as silencers. And she goes, "Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that." She goes, "But shooting the bullet down there just showed it's a silencer, and that would be a no-no." So, can you own... I guess they're calling this a fuel filter. I guess they mean oil filter. Sorry. And there's, like I said, a bunch of these things. So can you convert this? The answer is sure. Is it fairly straightforward? Well, especially with that indexing mark on the muzzle cap. The answer is yes. And, there's a neat little picture here that shows you get plus 70% odds of survival, plus 70% combat power, plus 70% hiding ability. And then it says ATF on the next one, 0%. Shipping, 0%. And it says ships from the USA with some Chinese down below. And it says you're worth it. Well, I'd like to think you are. And it says you can retrofit this for your Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Ford, or a tractor. Okay. So how good is it as a silencer? I haven't got a freaking clue. But if you're handy with a drill, I mean, call it just I'll round up the $35 and a $200 tax stamp. Worst case is if it doesn't work well, you can claim you made it yourself out of a fuel filter. Okay. So, I mean, the other way is the way normal people would do this, which is, in fact, one of the guys I know has designed one. He's an engineer. He's catted the thing out. He hasn't done any machining with it yet. And when he does, he'll have to fill out the paperwork and send it off to the ATF. But I think he's looking to build it, test it, and then potentially market it. All of that's a possibility. But he's looking at it more from a long-term perspective. So can you go ahead and build that? Yeah, go right ahead. I will not even begin to guess what the what the quality of it is. Okay, and then let's go for the final part, which is let's talk about making short-barreled weapons. The answer is yeah, you can do that too. All right. So, can you build a rifle with a 9-inch barrel? Yeah. It's funny because a lot of the AR and AK pistols look exactly like that. The pistol has a brace that looks amazingly like a stock or could be used as a stock. But if you build a short-barreled rifle or a short-barreled shotgun, those have to be also registered with the ATF. Can you buy the components? Absolutely. Can you buy the gun barrels and all that stuff? Yes. When you buy the receivers, you're still going to have to go through a gun dealer for that, and I talked about that in the Ghost Gun or one of the Ghost Gun episodes. So, essentially what you're doing in that case is like an AR platform construction with a shorter barrel. So, is that something easily doable? Definitely. Is it likely to work better than, say, the fuel or oil filter silencer qualitatively? Yes, it will. In fact, I couldn't emphasize enough. By all means, go out there and give it a shot. Sorry, no pun intended. So, to recap, building machine guns, bad, 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 bad. Building cheap-ass silencers. Well, I showed you where you can find these phenomenal deals on Amazon. And I haven't looked on eBay, but I'm willing to bet they're there too. They also sell the adapters for the oil filter that conveniently are threaded for a gun barrel. Okay. And then, so can you build those? Yes, you need to pay a tax stamp. So $200 and the proper paperwork. Can you build a short-barreled rifle or a short-barreled shotgun? Yes, you can. It is perfectly legal. However, since it's falling under the NFA, National Firearms Act, as part of the Gun Control Act, since it is the barrel length is below minimums, you also have to pay a $200 tax stamp and do the paperwork with the ATF. And then you're going to go, and this just occurred to me, and go, hey, Alan, I got this really cool short-barreled rifle I'm going to build, but I also want a silencer on it. Okay, $400 and 2 pieces of paperwork, or 2 sets of paperwork. One for the short-barreled rifle, the other for the silencer. So, extra bucks to avoid getting arrested? Sure.